Evolution does not care if you're happy. It really doesn't. So if you find a way to hack happiness, evolution's actually pretty cool with that.
Change your life on purpose.
Greetings, humans. Nate Lynch, Pasajai. This series is about concepts from psychology, philosophy, media studies, religion, whatever we can steal from in order to
change your life on purpose. Purpose.
Today the concept is dopamine and the pursuit of happiness. Whenever I talk about dopamine with students, they say that dopamine is the happiness chemical, and normally that ends up being serotonin. So no, it's not really a happiness chemical. It's more of a pursuit chemical. Dopamine is about the pursuit, not the happiness. And today I hope to explain that to you in a way that's going to make sense, right? This is a quote from James Clear's Atomic Habits. Dopamine is released not only when you experience pleasure, but also when you anticipate it. Gambling addicts have a dopamine spike right before they place a bet, not after they win. Cocaine addicts get a surge of dopamine when they see the powder, not after they take it. Whenever you predict that an opportunity will be rewarding, your levels of dopamine spike in anticipation. And whenever dopamine rises, so does your motivation to act. So you can see here that the gambling addicts, they get fired up before they place the bet. And the winning that you're supposedly doing it for does not produce dopamine in the brain. It's the anticipation, the motivation, the thing that gets you to do the behavior. Cocaine addicts get a surge of dopamine when they see the powder, when they see it, right? Well, I mean, you know that you have to put cocaine into your nose to have it affect the brain, which I do not suggest that you do. But seeing it gives them the surge of dopamine, right? And I mean, fair to say, cocaine does increase dopamine levels. It's one of the most dopaminergic drugs that you can possibly take is cocaine. And that's why cocaine has that shape of giving you a high and then lower, and then another high that's lower, and then lower, and then another high that's a little bit lower, and then lower, right? Methamphetamine, crack cocaine is stronger than cocaine, and then methamphetamine, called yaba in Thailand, the crazy drug, the crazy medicine, is the only one that gives you a more powerful hit of dopamine, right? And so this kind of like myth of drug addiction being a situation where you're constantly chasing the dragon, you're constantly like wanting to get higher and higher and higher. It is most true in drugs that affect dopamine directly, right? Coffee, you can have like the same amount of coffee every single day, and more or less you're fine, right? And that's because it works on adenosine. It doesn't work directly on dopamine. So what is dopamine and why is it important to us as human beings? Normal things that are not cocaine and methamphetamine that make dopamine explode in the brain are stuff that would make you, an evolutionary creation, an animal, make more animals, right? So you're a brain, and you got to make some more brains. That's what evolution wants you to do. That's what our evolutionary processes want to make happen. So obviously, if you eat a bunch of really high-calorie food, evolution just sends you this really loud signal like, oh man, great job, organism. You're probably going to survive for a little while longer. Here's some dopamine, right? And also, if you have sex, you're going to have a high level of dopamine. Not masturbate, but have sex, because evolution can tell the difference, actually. So sex gives you a very high level of dopamine. Yaba, the methamphetamine, and cocaine give you even more, right? Anything that is addictive is going to hit this dopamine system and give it what it wants, right? How does it do that? Here's the way it's explained in the book. So this is a little bit of neuroscience, but I think that it really spells it out quite well. This is from Atomic Habits. He puts it down in the framing of his cue, craving, response, and reward system that he lays out in his earlier chapters. The cue for a behavior is that you see something, right? The craving is that you feel, ooh, I want this, right? The response is that you do something. It's some kind of a behavior. And then the reward is, I feel good, right? Ariana Grande gave us, I see it, I like it, I want it, I got it. Great behavioral scientist is Ariana Grande, right? So it's not necessarily just when you see whatever it is that you want. It's when you feel the craving, right? That's something that Clear in his model is separating. I see it, I like it, I want it, I got it. So I see it and then I like it. That's the craving part. In Buddhism, we have this idea that all of human life entails suffering. Every human, whether they're a billionaire or just a person on the street begging for their meals, we're all experiencing suffering. And the question of why we're experiencing suffering is answered with tanha. Tanha is like thirst, right? You experience thirst. This craving is something that kind of the science of ending suffering pays a lot of attention to. I see it, I like it. Ooh, bam, dopamine. This is a chemical of pursuit, not a chemical of happiness. It gets you to chase, it gets you to want, right? Now, let's look at where it shows up and where it doesn't show up in the example of like some chocolate cake, right? Let's say you go into a restaurant and you're like, okay, you bring your friend, I bring you, and I say, hey, do you want to try this chocolate cake? It's ridiculously good. And you're like, okay, I kind of believe you. And we go to the restaurant and we sit down, we order the chocolate cake. And I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be so good. And you're like, whatever. We're talking about other things. You're not really thinking about the cake. And then the cake arrives and I'm like, you just wait. It's going to be so good. Stick your fork in the little beautiful corner piece, take a little bite. And as soon as you take that little bite, boom, you get that sense of dopamine. The cake is so good and so satisfying that it's teaching your system, like this, want this. This is good. This is the kind of thing you're into. This is great. This is a little moment that you're like living your life for. Bam, pleasure. Yes, human, be happy, right? You get that reward. You get that great feeling. So you have now learned that this is something to be wanted. This is something to be desired. A new desire has been added to your list of desires, right? Okay, so part B, we have a new situation. That's where the reward is expected, so it no longer produces a dopamine hit. Let's look at it, right? You sit down in the restaurant now, 2 weeks later. Hey, do you want to go get that chocolate cake again? Yeah, I remember how good that is. Now I've learned that it's good. We sit down, order the cake comes, you eat the cake, and a really weird thing happens. When you sit down in the restaurant and you're waiting for the cake to come, boom, you're experiencing the dopamine rush. But what you're experiencing is not the pleasure of eating the cake. It's the desire of wanting the cake, right? The wanting produces the dopamine. And then when the cake arrives, barely anything happens. You don't get the dopamine because it's not new anymore, right? You always, as a human, need new things to be satisfying yourself dopaminergically. Isn't that strange? So now you get the desire out of wanting, but not the desire out of having. So again, you see that dopamine is about the pursuit. It's not about the happiness. Okay. Well, what about if you don't get what you want, right? So you sit down and they say, hold on, we'll get you your cake. And they go back to get the cake. And then the server comes back and says, I'm sorry, but we're out of that cake today. And you're like, right? You have this feeling of sadness, right? Right here in part C, you have the feeling of sadness because you don't get the cake. You don't get the happiness. So you had the dopamine in anticipation, but now you experience disappointment. You're left in a lower place. So now that you have a new desire added to your list of desires, not only are you going to feel this yearning, but you're also going to feel disappointment at some point. Well, what's the only way to make it satisfying again? And this is what artists understand pretty well. That's when you have the delay in the reward. Now, how does that work out? Well, you sit down, you order the cake, you get the feeling, the dopamine rises in desire. You feel like you're going to get it. Something's going to happen. Oh my God, this is going to happen. Talked about gambling addicts. You are waiting to find out if you're going to get something. Oh no, the excitement, it's going to get me, right? The server comes back and says, no, I'm sorry. We don't have this cake that you want. So you sit down and you order it, you get the anticipation, right? And then the server comes back and says, no, it's not there. I'm sorry. And you're sad, right? You're on your way in for the disappointment. And then another server comes over and says, hey, wait a minute. Remember you were back there looking for the cake? It's put in a new place and you didn't know it. Oh, sorry. Hold on 1 second. Wait a minute. Is it going to come back? Anticipation again. And then bam, the unexpected cake comes back. Now, Stoicism reminds us to remember all the time that we're going to die, because Stoicism understands memento mori, right? Stoicism understands that we get very good at desiring things and very bad at appreciating these great things, right? It's the same cake. Why don't we love it, right? And it's a similar situation like the ability to walk, right? You're walking around. I walk in the morning to go get my coffee, and I don't think, man, I'm so happy that I can walk, right? But if I lost the ability to walk, I would be utterly devastated. I had a good friend who got in a car accident, and his car flipped 900 million times, and he walked away totally fine. So he almost lost the ability to walk. And then when he was walking around, he was just so happy that he was healthy and he was safe because he felt like he should be dead. Stoicism tries to create this sort of a situation synthetically by forcing you to imagine negative things. Now, that doesn't mean you should be doing that all the time, because that can lead to like rumination, which is a major part of anxiety and depression. And if you look at the DSM, there's a lot of anxiety and depression in humans. But memento mori, done properly, is one way of kind of forcing the foolish human to enjoy the things that we should be enjoying. But the shape of dopamine, the nature of dopamine, and the way that it works in our minds doesn't let us enjoy the things that we want to enjoy. Now, here we go again. We're going to go back to the clear. The point is that wanting is really strongly biased in the brain. We really are good at wanting things and liking things, enjoying things, feeling good about the things that we have. Very strongly biased against. Let's go to the text. Your brain has far more neural circuitry allocated for wanting rewards than for liking them. The wanting centers of the brain are large: the brainstem, the nucleus accumbens, the ventral tegmental area, the dorsal striatum, the amygdala, and portions of the prefrontal cortex. By comparison, the liking centers of the brain are much smaller. They're often referred to as hedonic hotspots and are distributed like tiny islands throughout the brain. For instance, researchers have found that 100% of the nucleus accumbens is activated during wanting, while only 10% of the structure is activated during liking. Why? Why would this be? It makes sense if you go back to Charlie Darwin, Origin of the Species. Why are we all here? Well, we have this brain that we've made, and it runs all of these things, and that brain needs to be set up to make more brains. If something's going to result in us eating more food and having more sex, it's going to get a reward. It's going to get dopamine. It's going to produce dopamine in the organism as a result of pushing that organism towards surviving long enough to make more copies of itself, right? That totally makes sense from a neuroscience perspective. Now, there's 3 systems that you can look at and see how hard they are to hack. The first one is dopamine. If you can hack your motivation, that's not good, because that means you're going to be like a bad organism. If you run out of motivation, you're not going to live, right? So hacking dopamine is unfortunately really difficult. You have to learn a lot of things about it, and you have to really work hard to kind of brainwash yourself to do the things that are in line with what you want to do. It's difficult to hack dopamine. Another one is pain sensitivity. We talked about drugs before. If you're taking painkillers, and I take, one this week, if I'm going to kill the same amount of pain next week, I'm going to need 2. And then the following week, I'm going to need 3. And it will go up like that. Because as a good organism, I need to be able to have my sense of pain accurate so that I don't die. Happiness, though. Evolution does not care if you're happy. It really doesn't. So if you find a way to hack happiness, Evolution's actually pretty cool with that. And something like gratitude, where you take the end of the night and you say 3 things that you're grateful for. You could do that in like 2 minutes, and it really measurably does make people happier. It's the easiest thing in the world. It's actually quite easy to hack happiness, to force yourself to be happier. Another one is BJ Fogg's Maui habit. He talks about waking up in the morning. As soon as you put your 2 feet on the floor, you say, it's going to be a great day. That's all, right? It takes a second. And by doing that every single day, you will measurably be happier. You can like brainwash yourself to be happier. It's actually easier to do that. That's pretty strange, isn't it? Pain, very hard to hack, right? And that's sad. People who are in pain have a hard time hacking that. Motivation, really hard to hack. You got to work hard at it. But happiness, actually quite easy to hack. So remember that dopamine is the chemical of pursuit. It is not the chemical of happiness. And if you want to learn ways to try to hack your motivational systems so that you're able to do stuff that's more in line with what you want to do with your life, I got a course called
Change Your Life on Purpose.
The link is in the description, and we will go through this book, many other books. I read them so you don't have to. I'll explain what they all mean, just like this, and that's the theory section. The main point is going to be the practice section, where you will do things in your life weekly, try to make some changes, and in the comments section, we'll all get together as a community and kind of like attack the question of how to
Change your life on purpose
as a team. It's pretty awesome. Link in the description. Join us. I will see you on the other side. Peace.